Hello everyone, my name is Priya Patra and I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. And once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on from which part of the world you have joined in today. And as you know, we are going to talk about something very, very exciting today. The topic of discussion today is project management for innovation, research and development, and fuzzy projects. I always wondered, how do people manage projects, which fall under these categories? And because usually we do not know, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? So we are going to discuss just that today. And with me, I have Robert, our chapter leader from Zimbabwe chapter. Robert.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to the PMI Exchange Session 3 event 9 today. And we are focusing on project management for innovation, R&D, and fuzzy projects. Today, we have got all friends joining from 23 PMI chapters from across the globe, North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Please say hello to each other and continue networking in the chat group. And today we are excited to announce that we have got over 1,400 registrants from across the globe, coming in from 76 countries to be precise, from Alaska to New Zealand. And so thank you very much for supporting this PMI Chapter Exchange initiative. And let us also know where you are coming from by going to that website that is on your screen, www.ment.com, and type in the code thereof. And please be mindful that this recording, there's a recording to this session. And if you are for some reason uncomfortable with the recording, please, you can recluse yourself, or you can carry on by attending. Once again, a very warm welcome to you all.
Thank you, Robert. We also have Anisha Ahmed. She is our chapter leader from PMI Bangladesh chapter. Anisha, please say hi to everyone.
Hello, this is Anisha from PMI Bangladesh chapter. So good to be here. And this is one of the proudest moments for me to be in this event because I'm a big fan of Ricardo. So let's just welcome Ricardo here.
Yeah, we also do have Damike Mendes, who is our chapter leader from PMI Sri Lanka chapter.
Hi everyone, welcome from Sri Lanka. I am the Executive Vice President of PMI Colombo Sri Lanka chapter.
And of course, Taiwo from PMI Nigeria chapter. Taiwo, are you speaking on mute?
Yes, okay. Sorry, I was speaking on mute. My name is Taiwo Popola from PMI Nigerian chapter. I'm the Vice President for Professional Development. Being on this kind of program is always my exciting moment. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Taiwo. Now over to you, Anisha.
So the best and proud moment for me. So as being the Brightland Initiative alumni for the Peer Project Management Institute initiative that Ricardo was directing. So thank you so much, Pia, for giving me this opportunity to introduce Ricardo Villanueva for this event today. So Ricardo is a maestro for project management and business agility and has experience for more than 2 decades for over $20 billion for international operations for the oil industry, energy industry, infrastructure, IT, and finance. And also, he's the founder and managing director for Macro Solutions, which is a consultancy firm. So Ricardo is also a venture capitalist for the artificial intelligence tools. So thank you so much, Ricardo, for being our guest speaker for this very, very interesting initiative for Chapter Exchange. So Priya, the floor to you.
It has to be over to Ricardo, not to me. So Ricardo, over to you.
Text also copy paste that, I guess. So,
Okay. Hello everyone. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you. You know, after more than 20, I think 25 years around PMI, and this is so exciting. You know, when Priya came to me and said, "Look, there are people from 76 countries, more than 1,000 people listening to that," and this is I would say the power of being together, you know, of being together. So thank you very much for having me. Anisha, thank you for being so kind in your opening remarks, okay? It's really an honor for me to be with you. And what I want here, I know I have just 10 minutes, so I'll try to really wrap up what is in my mind when I think about you know, this kind of fuzzy innovation, R&D. And I want to start by showing you a very simple drawing here. You know, what is the challenge? So if you see my screen now, you can see that we have, I would say, what is project management for all of us? If we go a little bit better back, it's like a road looking for conformance. So what do we want? It's like a car, you know, and we want the car or the train to follow the track, right? We know the city we are going to, and we just want to optimize the best we can. But honestly, this was probably 20 years ago. Today, it's just different. You know, because what is happening, and this is the characteristic of this kind of project, is that there is no clear road on where you want to reach. There is no, I would say, a clear path and saying, okay, do this and do that. So other competencies become absolutely critical if you truly want to survive on this environment. Because what we need basically change our mind from a mind that is you know, is trying to, for example, look for this, I would say, this prediction here, you know, this prediction and this stability, to a much more broadened. And if you think, and if you go back to what PMI did on the PM Box 6 to the 7th, was an excellent way to address that. So what I want now, I want to share. So I prepared something like very 5 slides, but I want you just to keep in mind. And you know, during this short time, what I want is, which are the 3 things that I want you, and I would love that you think when you're talking about this fuzzy, this R&D, and this something like you develop the road while you were driving. And one of the things we need to understand is that it's impossible today to make clear point in the future as our destination. You know, the clear point, I would say this clear scope. You don't do an R&D project. You don't do an innovation knowing, okay, what will come out? It's a new pen that looks like this, that does that. It's not. This is what we would love to, but it's not, because sometimes on your journey to find a pen, you find a pencil. You find, you know, a watch that works like a pen, and, you know, and things are different. So you need to have something in mind. And the first thing I want to talk to you is this concept of moving from fragile to anti-fragile. So let me try to explain this to you. First thing, fragile, we all know. If you have a glass and the glass collapses in the floor, it will break. What is a fragile structure? It's a structure that everything that happens can destroy it, right? It's a very fragile. So if you lose the control over that thing, it just destroys. And your project plan, streets like that, is fragile. It's absolutely fragile because, you know, look today, we have the war in Ukraine, we had the COVID, we have, each of you listening to me, you have a billion examples to share on that. So what is to move from to anti-fragile? We always think that the opposite of fragile is robust. Robust is something that resists to change. In our older mindset, what was the role of the project manager? Is to be robust, right? Change control, how I can avoid change, how I can bring the project back on track, how I can put the train back on track, right? This is a robust. But what is anti-fragile? Anti-fragile is something that improves with instability. Win, it's not resist, it's to win. This flower you can see here is the dandelion. And the dandelion is, when I was a child in Brazil, I used to blow this and make a wish, you know, and if you blow everything, your wish will become true. And my first idea of this flower was, oh, this is a ultra fragile flower, right? You just blow and it goes away. So it's so fragile, but it's not, because every time you blow, if you look here, every single piece that you blow is a new seed that will become what? That will become a new dandelion in the future. By the way, if you need to many people call this a plague, you need to cut very softly, because if you shake, you just multiply it forever. And this is the concept of anti-fragility. Another example, why you go to the gym. You go to the gym because every time you go to the gym and do weightlifting, what you're doing, you are hurting your muscles. You are hurting in a controlled way. Why? Because you want that your muscle suffer so they can rebuild stronger. And this is how you get stronger. The muscle is an anti-fragile. If you do not shake the muscle, if you stay in the bed, what happens? You lose your muscles. This is the concept of moving from. So you need to be an anti-fragile leader and an anti-fragile team member. My second advice to you, it's about adaptation. You need to adapt fast when new information comes. If we go to the basics of statistics, there is a theorem called the Bayes theorem that calls that every time you have new information, you must incorporate it into your decision-making process. So as soon as you learn something, you need to adapt. You learn, you adapt. You learn, you adapt. And the example that Thomas Bayes did is that imagine that you want to know the probability of seeing an elephant today on the street. Okay, maybe you say it's very low. But then I tell you, oh, do you know that there is just a circus around the corner? Just by knowing that, you change. And if you turn on your TV and they say, an elephant just escaped from the circus, from the cage in the circus, it's a different. This is adaptation. And this is why the last principle, last but not least, of PMI on the PM Box 7th edition is adaptability and resilience. If you ask me what is the key competence today for managing and leading this kind of project, is this adaptability. And last but not least, that is not easy at all, is to adapt to ambiguity. You know, we look, I am an engineer. I love exact answers. I love this yes or no. I don't like maybe. I don't like, I like things that can be clear for me. And for example, if you see this, you can see, this is a very old, you can see this as a rabbit, and this is the mouth of the rabbit and the eyes. Or you can see this as a bird, and the beak here were the ears of the rabbit. Who is right? Who is wrong? I don't know. Nobody knows. And this is to live with ambiguity. When you do a research, you don't have all the possible answers. You don't have all the possible answers. You know, and this is why it's so important to become anti-fragile, to adapt, and to handle and live with that. And my final thought to all of you, I have, and this final thought is the essence. I was in an event recently, and the final sentence was so powerful, and this is what I will share with you. It's not my sentence. That, you know, I took a note, and you can see here in my computer, because I'm reading it every single day to understand what we are talking about now. And this is the sentence. They say that when we think we have all the answers, life comes and changes all the questions. You know, and this is exactly what is to manage and lead this kind of project. Okay, I am already running out of time, so I really want to thank you, all of you, for the opportunity. It was an honor, really, to be and seeing all of you. Priya, thank you for your time. Okay, Anesha, thanks for your time. All of you, you know, you just make project management so beautiful and so diverse. Thanks for that, and enjoy your event.
Yeah, so thank you, Ricardo. There is a question for you. Okay, so on the chat window, I just read, usually projects are defined as temporary endeavor, right? And project man, oh, I lost the question. Just give me 1 second. Where did it go?
Sure.
And project managers, are you able to see it now? There's so much chat going on, and people are very, very happy that you are here on this session today. Where did it go?
Priya, it looks like the question is, usually projects are defined as temporary endeavors, as per the definition of PMBOK. So what about the innovation projects, as they are not usually clear?
Yeah, look, even on innovation projects, you create clear deadlines, not in terms of producing the product, but you produce gates where you review what you already did. So innovation, of course, the innovation function inside a company is permanent. Okay, it can be permanent, but every kind of innovation has a specific life cycle. For example, you work on this prototype and you do this for 1 or 2 sprints. And then you need just to submerge from that sprint and go on and say, what we got here? Should we invest further on it or not? So even knowing that your function in innovation is permanent, like for example, a project office is permanent, every single innovation has a life cycle, because your ability to deliver value is only on that specific time frame. It's not forever. Okay, it's not forever. So this is why when you plan innovation, you plan this in short cycles that you can revisit and review quickly. And this goes for R&D, the same process.
Yeah, I think that was the only question I saw. Maybe I'm missing. There's so many chat going on, but there are very good comments. Thank you, Ricardo. Someone says all.
Thank you very much, and thank you all. I love seeing all the names and everybody from different parts of the world. And congratulations for being such an amazing group of volunteers to make this happen. Okay, I'm very, very proud here. Okay.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All the best to all of you.
Don't go 1 more minute. People are saying you are their hero in the success of the PMP examination. I want to know that.
Thank you. You know, I did that. That video is just a surprise, because I did that when I was studying, but this was 1998, so quite a while ago. And I did that. And you know, for some reason, people said, "Do you want to share this?" And you know, it just happened. It just happened. You know, I don't work with PMPXM, okay? People don't, I don't work. It's not my business. But, you know, I know that many people like that. And, you know, I just want to anticipate. I know that PMI released the new process groups and this recently. And the answer is yes, I am preparing a new video on that. Okay? Soon. To be released soon. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. And thank you very much for your time. And there are lots of good comments. I cannot read them all. Please read them. But definitely people are very happy that you are here today. Now with this, we will move on to the next section of our event. And this is just to remind you what our initiative is all about. Yes, we are one team, one song and one dance. And of course, we stole this from PMI. We thought this is befitting our program because we have 23 chapters on this event today, representation from 23 chapters in our team. And it spans across all the 16 regions that PMI is in today. And what are we doing, right? We are building a virtual community of chapter leaders. And we like to call it this way, that it transcends across countries, continents, and cultures. And our vision is to individualize cross-chapter collaboration and encourage cultural diversity. And by doing this, we are spurring networking, collaboration opportunities like this one today. That's why we are saying, keep on networking by taking, putting your LinkedIn profile on the chat window or taking the Menti poll, letting us know from where you have joined in. And you will see chapters from diverse backgrounds on this program because we truly believe diverse connections lead to innovative solutions. And you will see much more. And Ricardo, we will definitely use the tips that you have given us to bring out some innovative solutions from this team as well. Now, let us introduce you
Priya, may I just say one thing I forgot, but I don't want to forget. I want just to wish all of you celebrating Diwali next week. A blessed Diwali, okay? So I was with a note here to not forget that, but I forgot. So I just don't want to miss this, okay, for all of those. And this is extremely connected with this global and diversity. So I just want to make sure you all know that, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Thank you, Ricardo, for those wishes. And over to you, Damike, to introduce the Spotlight chapter of the month.
Thanks, Priya. So I will introduce our Spotlight chapter. That is PMI South Africa chapter, one of the anchor chapters of this initiative. So, and these are all the beautiful flora, fauna, and heritage sites of South Africa. And to tell us more about this amazing country and the chapter is none other than the president of chapter, Tunde Aramukudo. So let me introduce Tunde, president of PMI South Africa chapter. Tunde is the founder and the CEO of ProSite Plan Africa. He has over 3 decades post-qualification and varied field experience in architecture and as a project manager with both South Africa Council for Project and Construction Management Professions and Project Management Institute of USA. So Tunde, before I hand over the stage to you, I have 2 questions for you. First one, what is the time they are now at your side and the date? Second one, what does the logo of your chapter signify? Over to you, Tunde.
All right. Thanks so much, Damike, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you might be in the world. So the question first is, what time is it now? It's 16:25 in Johannesburg, South Africa. And it to be the same time anywhere in South Africa. So it's 16:25. And the logo of South Africa, if you can see there, or yes, that logo there, the logo really is talking to 3 of about 4 colors that we have in South Africa. And it's shown there though in purple, but there are about 3-4 colors. And the first you'll see there, which is the top part, is talking to the blue. Yes, correct. The red, yes, the red is the color there, and at the bottom is the blue. The Y, which really is in horizontal format, is a symbol of the unity of the country. And the black there is formed in a form of an isosceles triangle. And that's, you can see all those colors, and that's why we call our nation a rainbow nation, because it's a country of many races, many colors. As some of you might know already, you've probably been here or not, we have the black, we have the white, we have the Indians, we have the coloreds, we have all sorts of races in this country. Thank you.
Okay, so Tunde, let us know about the chapter and anything that you would want to let the entire global audience know about the chapter.
All right, thanks, Priya. And it's good to be at this. Well, I'll just give you a few highlights as a chapter. We have been around for over 41 years as a chartered chapter of PMI. And I'll just give you a bit of a rundown, my tenure. And of course, we have a cluster engagement program. We have corporate membership that we're looking at, which doesn't exist with PMI. I'll also give you a bit of a snippet of what I do and how I try to manage the portfolios. And of course, youth engagement and what membership it is to us in the chapter. So I'll start with the first one. Now, the cluster engagement program that we have is something that's never really existed. And we were looking at how to drive membership growth from the grassroots. And to do that, we felt, because all along we've been running a branch model, which more or less was dealing with about 10 to 15% of our membership, we felt we needed to have a greater reach. So we're looking at 95%. So we started this. And the benefit of that is that our members can network and determine their own cost to empower themselves and become a kind of a lobby group, arrange their own activities, more or less self-directed to doing their own events. They can form smaller clubs, they can have book clubs, hiking groups, and even become a lobby group to be able to drive project management ideals. And of course, take on some CSR projects. Now, what's the criteria? There we're looking at where members live or work and look at the geographical location about 10 to 15 kilometers to be able to form a cluster. And as I've said, self-directed, we have some of their members that will be coordinators, facilitators, and even create an ambassador to an extent where they can be spread all across the country. And by the way, we've just launched the first one about 2 months ago in one of the provinces in South Africa, and we started with about 14. A few others will be launched before the end of the year, hopefully, and we want to run on that basis. And I'm sure that will be creating some interesting opportunities. Now, the other thing that we're doing is on corporate engagement. We believe the corporate engagement drive is to allow us as a chapter to benefit tremendously between the corporate and even our chapter. So we're looking at opportunity to deal with corporate, government, NGOs, and be able to see us as a professional association. And the opportunities for those as members belonging to corporates is to be supported by such corporates. And you can imagine where annual subscription of our members can be, that burden can be offloaded from members. And that, by the way, is already beginning. We'll have development, professional development offerings for these corporates, and all sorts of things can happen where bulk payments of membership come with a discount, and that obviously benefits everybody. The other is that the chapter can offer corporates talks on project management programs, courses through chapters, own affiliations, and through our connections with ATPs. The other thing is the benefit of this is for corporates now can support chapter events depending on how well deepened that relationship is between the chapter and, of course, the corporates. And where a chapter is properly registered, the corporates are happy to sponsor our events with some tax incentives, and of course, that becomes a win-win. Stronger collaborations with corporates emerge from this if the relationship is nurtured, and obviously everybody will be winning. Now, some of the things that we do as a chapter is that, as you know, we're volunteer run like any other chapter. As a president myself, I've set up a system where I engage with our VPs on a quarterly basis, having a one-to-ones with them to get to know what's going on, and indeed, just basically listen to their yearnings. Because if one is dealing with the VPs and getting that opportunity, you get to know what is happening at the grassroots. So that's one thing. We have also seen in the chapter that membership is the key client to all other portfolios, including the presidency. Everything is started around membership. Where membership is happy, where the portfolio for membership is happy, you can be sure that things will be happening. So as a result of that, everybody subscribes to the needs of the membership portfolio. So membership is a key client for all the portfolios. Another thing we do is that we look at operating on a systems approach, which obviously gives us a chance to be able to get things done. Sorry, there's somebody calling me here. This is going on. Excuse me. There's a call coming and I'm trying to decline the call. Sorry, excuse me. Can you hear the call ringing?
No.
Oh, okay, all right, then maybe I should carry on. All right, sorry, it's just a call coming through. Sorry. So we're looking at systems approach to volunteering work where our work is grouped around 4 or 5 portfolios. So in a sense, every portfolio that's got an item of work to do, there are about 4 portfolios that are surrounding that work, and in the systems approach to get the work done. And that has worked for us. And then the other thing is that we have what we call a chapter program coordinator. The chapter coordinator essentially is a part-time paid employee of the chapter where he fills in where some of the chapter leaders are not able to because of the work they do or life, and we get a better response time to the work that we do as a chapter. And that's really what I can share with you now on South African chapter. I believe I've spent too much time already, so my apologies, Priya.
No problem, but thank you,
yeah,
Tunde.
Thank you.
To let you know that South Africa chapter has been one of our founding chapters of this program, and a lot of support and a lot of collaboration with the South Africa chapter. So thank you very much for all those contributions. And one special thing that I can call out is that you even have a special role, Chapter Xchange liaison, right? So that's very good. You have a focused, support for this initiative. So thank you very much, Tunde. With this, I hand over to Greg to introduce the moderator of our session today. So Greg, you there?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. Good morning in Alaska, or from Alaska. My name is Greg Dubois. I'm from the Alaska chapter. I am the Vice President of Outreach and the Youth and Social Impact Coordinator. Shastine, our moderator today, she is our Agile champion for the Alaska chapter. She has been a Vice President, but she's currently the Agile champion. She does training, particularly for disciplined Agile, the PMI way of working. She has her own company called Blue Ink, in which she provides training to people throughout Alaska, but also I think throughout the world. And so she is a qualified PMI instructor. So she works with ATPs to provide instruction and boot camp instruction through PMI. So without further ado, oh, and she's also in the midst of building a new home. So she has quite the project going on. I'm sure there's some innovation going on there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shastine Lynch.
Fantastic. Geez, Greg, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yes, I am here from Alaska as well. We have lots of bears. We do not live in igloos. I am, however, building a house, as Greg mentioned. I used to teach a class about Agile where I'd say, oh, you'd never want me to build a house using Agile. You'd want me to use waterfall. And then I started building a house and I used Agile to build my house. So I have a great use case for it. Now I say, here's how you build a house using Agile. So thank you very much for that introduction. Super excited to be back here for this event. Such an amazing thing to have so many different countries, so many different backgrounds, and then of course our fantastic panelists that I would love to introduce you to from around the world. We, for starters, have Dr. Lambert from Nigeria with a background in research and development. So he's going to have some really great answers for us today. Dr. Lambert, can you give us a little more about your background?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, I'm Dr. Lambert Ofebu. Currently, I have a PhD in leadership and organizational change. I've been with PMI since year 2001, and I've been involved in several PMI standards. I'm the immediate past president of PMI Nigeria chapter, and I've been involved in a lot of research and development projects across continents. I'm one of the core team members that established OPM3 third edition, OPM3 standard third edition. I've worked in waterfall environment, in an agile environment, and currently I am an apostle of hybrid project management. So, and we'll have fun discussing today how we can remain focused and practice project management both in waterfall environments and in agile environments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lambert. We look forward to hearing some of your expertise. Next, we have Gonzalo Baca, and he's from Peru. Gonzalo, if you want to go ahead and give us an introduction, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, how are you, everyone? Yeah, I'm from Peru, but I lived during my childhood in a couple of countries inside Latin America. So I'm representing Latin America. And my view in this project management, I've been involved in project management during 15 years now, in different, first as a team member, then as a team leader, and now reviewing a full portfolio of other product development. And I work in cosmetics, and our projects or what we do more is new product development. When we have because we are in cosmetics, but also in direct sales, our biggest concern is time. We have a time when the product needs to be in the market because we launch a new fragrance for Mother's Day and have to be in Mother's Day, cannot be in any place either. So we have these R&D developments, but with this constraint of the time that is something that is maybe a different scope that everyone else has. So that's what I'm bringing here, and thank you very much for the invite.
Fantastic, Gonzalo. Yes, time to market, so important. So look forward to some of your feedback. Next, we have Priscilla Baatskabai. She's from the Netherlands. Priscilla, if you could go ahead and give us a little more detail about your background, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good time, wherever you are. So my name is Priscilla. I am in the Netherlands, originally though from Kenya. Well, where do I start? Well, I'm passionate about people and projects. So everything that I do is centered around people. I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, I'm a mindset change facilitator. So many roles and hats that we all have. So I have so many, but I won't get into that right now. But the hat that I have on for this event today is that of a PMI trainer. So leaning on my knowledge on that experiences as a trainer. I'm also the PMO officer at Rico Europe Supply Chain here in the Netherlands, and also as a mindset coach and facilitator by the Arbinger Institute. So leaning on the shoulders of so many great people who have gone before us. We're learning from them, and we're also learning together, and we will learn also in the future. So it's all about, helping each other to be the best that we can be and make a positive impact in this world. So thank you all for being present here, and I really look forward to further, getting to meet you all offline.
Thank you, Priscilla. Yeah, the people element to our projects is so important, can really make or break a project. Next up from Switzerland, we have Marcus Gloaz. Marcus, if you could come on and give us a little background about yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, and really happy to be here. I think that initiative is really great, especially this whole international aspect here. That actually suits me quite well because I came around internationally quite a bit. I would say I used to work in the United States. I used to work for many years in Brazil. I know there's a huge community here from Brazil, as far as I can tell you from the chat. And yeah, I also worked for many years in project management already, also about 15 years, I would say right now. I got specialized more in compliance, regulatory projects, so financial services, which, yeah, whoever is familiar with that knows there's also some high complexity in there. And that led me also to some more research around project management and innovation. And actually, my view is, I mean, any project that we are running is kind of an innovation project in itself because we are constantly innovating our practice, right? So whatever we learn and take away from our projects, that is actually an innovation for our project management practice. So from that aspect, I think we can even call each project innovation. But yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward for the discussion here.
Fantastic. Last but not least, our guest speaker earlier today, Ricardo Vargas from Brazil. Ricardo, I have to say, until today, I had not realized with my American accent that the word dandelion was so beautiful. It sounds much better when you say it.
I think he's gone, so he had an appointment, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get going then. I know that there's a lot of questions. People are anxious to get to our panelists. Priya, did you want to touch base on anything before we dive into the Q&A? All right. Off we go. So, Dr. Lambert, I wanted to ask you, because you talked about working in a hybrid environment, and today's topic is about fuzzy projects and maybe not having all of our requirements, and certainly not knowing our full scope. What are some of the different approaches you would use in gathering requirements in a waterfall versus an agile environment, or in a hybrid?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Christian, for the Justin, for the question. The mistake people make these days is that the fuzzy word agile. Yes, we're on the move. More especially the new breed of project managers, more especially the people in IT related field. We are on the go, we are agile, we don't need processes, this and blah, 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 blah. And I say the answer is no. Agile for the fact you have said it is a project, like agile project management processes and principles must be in place. But the question now is, to what extent? So for me, the hybrid we are talking of is that the processes must be there, but you have to be agile depending on the objectives of your project. So in a continuum, just like we have matrix, is it balanced? Okay, I've picked on IT people and younger people. The other way around, people in construction and engineering, they stick to their gun and say, we cannot be agile in engineering, procurement and engineering sector and all that, because you know you must follow our processes and it must be done in a particular way. And I tell you, the answer is no. Because even in engineering projects, in construction projects that predominantly we are using waterfall method, agile is still applicable. So the question now is, where do we draw the balance? The line of best fit. That is what hybrid project management is all about. Good. If you are into process-oriented industry or project, whereby there are regulations, things must be done in a particular way, you tend more towards waterfall, but you can still practice agile. How do you do this? For the fact that we say this is a requirement, you must get approval from A and B. If you want to bring it into agile perspective, you now say, okay, it's a process. I must tick that and honestly tick that I have followed the process. But how then do I do it? My dear, you must not wait for the monthly meeting to attend to an approval that is required today for you to be agile. There are so many tools that we can use, task stream, so many tools, Trello, and all that. It could equally be ordinary WhatsApp group that you created for the project. Hi guys, this is if we don't do this now, things will go wrong. How do we go about it? We need a decision now. If they are not responding, you pick a phone and call. So by so doing, within minutes, people can evaluate the risks involved based on the project objective to know whether the approval is coming or not. That is it. So it means you can jolly well do that. Even in agile projects that is more of, that you apply more of innovation and all that, you can as well follow processes. But it is the speed in which, because if not, you start off with something, you are not documenting it anywhere. For instance, a project of $1 billion, you end up with $200 billion, and you expect us to clap for you. No documentation anywhere, no approval anywhere. How is it repeatable? How can you do such a project consistently? So that is the same way we solicit requirement for every other project. It is doable in both agile and hybrid. The question is, where are you on the continuum? Where are you on the balance? Are you more of hybrid? Are you more of waterfall? You follow processes but try to be a little bit agile. Are you more of agile? Jolly well do your agile, but remember there are minimal processes for it to be project management. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's so true. Agile does not mean not having processes, right? And having that stakeholder management and really making sure that you're keeping the communication lines open. One of the questions that came through, Dr. Lambert, while you were speaking, is and I see this question a lot, and Priscilla, maybe you can answer this one since you do, you're on that training side. The question is, can you use Agile in construction?
Can you use Agile in construction? Now, let me think here. Well, I don't want to say yes and no. So I'll get to say it depends, right? So in a construction project, if it's a project that, you've repeatedly done before, you have good lessons learned, you can, not start from scratch, then it's probably better to follow your predictable processes. But then, every project is unique. So you might be dealing with new stakeholders. The environment is changing. New regulations are being introduced. So you might still have to, adapt, pivot, depending on the situation that you're facing, the unique context that you're in. So coming back to what, Dr. Lambert just said, it's about tailoring your approach to suit the context that you're in, Justin.
Yeah, fantastic. And so true. And Priscilla, an opportunity for me to give a shameless plug to Disciplined Agile, because it talks about, the context matters and that you should be able to pick your way of work and not every project is the same. So yeah, so true. It really depends on the details of what the project is and the end goal. Fantastic. Yeah, so Marcus, let me ask you.
Can I add to that?
What role, Marcus, does the business owners or the business stakeholders play in gathering these requirements that we need?
Yeah, very good question. I think especially nowadays, everything is becoming more complex, and the world is obviously moving faster. So there needs to be some, and that's obviously also the nature or the concept of Agile, to actually engage business stakeholders more into the whole process. But I think as we actually move much faster in projects, generally speaking, it is actually really, really important to actually have them right from the start. So they play a crucial role. So design thinking comes into mind, right? Where actually you engage them not only from a requirement.
Marcus, sorry, you went on mute.
For some reason, I got unmuted. Okay. Can you hear me right now? Okay.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So I was talking about design thinking, so that comes to mind. So as an example, when you design a screen, let's say a web page or something, right, you can actually document this all nicely in terms of what kind of functionality you want, how that should look like, etc. But you only actually get the precise requirements when you actually get some idea of the look and feel, or the user actually gets into this and see, okay, the button needs to be actually there, and here I cannot really get there with the mouse. So a very simple example. So the point is, we like to engage them, and there needs to be really a partnership between the project team and the business user. So I call that usually, or organizations call it usually, like this cross-functional squads, right? Where actually you get, from a project point of view, you get those views on the actual challenges that business users have, and you get a better feeling, you get a better understanding on the actual requirements beyond what is actually written and documented. And on the other hand, also the business user, they get a better understanding what's actually possible. So you need to find this way. So these old times where yeah, here's a project, here's a business user, and this kind of silos or separate functions, I think this, especially nowadays, this is practically over.
Yeah, again, that stakeholder engagement, such an important part of any one of these endeavors. Thank you, Marcus. Gonzalo, we have a question here, and so I'm wondering, because you're in the supply chain and there's lots of different tools and tracking tools that you have to utilize in that industry. when it comes to tracking projects, especially when there's so much ambiguity around it, is there any tools or technologies that you prefer to track those projects with?
Yeah, of course. You have the logistics software that work on its own. It gives you the information that you need. But regarding the project, what we use and is a change that we did 3 or 4 years ago that is growing and is making this new hybrid that is working for us, is that we track the long term with a waterfall approach and the short term with an agile execution. So we have 2 weeks sprints when we see what we need to do in these 2 weeks, but because we need to achieve the product in a exact date, then we use a waterfall to know and to track if we are going on track or off track, and we need to raise our hand and say there is a problem here and we cannot achieve that time. Then for waterfall, you can use any software that you want. We use software for a Brazilian company that's called SoftExpert. That is an ERP, and inside there is a project management module. And for the agile part, we use the Office suite. We use Teams, and inside Teams we use Planner. And I think that regarding software in project, you need to go not with the best. I don't know if your company has Office 365. Maybe you can find a better software to do it, but you can have to work with all the companies that everyone goes inside this. Maybe you go with a planner inside Office that is not so good, but everyone has access to. You can link with your email, and so you have pros and cons, and then you need to use what is better for your company and what the tools that you have at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And utilizing Planner for a Kanban board, which has now been renamed Tasks in the apps for your teams, is such a great and easy way to track an agile deployment. Thank you. We have another question that has come in here. Dr. Lambert, maybe you could answer this one for us. Is agile planning done using progressive elaboration?
Yeah, I think that's what exactly Agile is all about. And that's why I'm saying we can use hybrid and use both methodologies interchangeably. Progressive elaboration allows us to start a project without knowing the full outcome. You know, once at least you have your objective set, you start. And as more details unfold, you adjust your plan. And that's what Agile is. And that's why I keep wondering why even people in engineering and construction sometimes feel that it is not possible to use Agile. Meanwhile, the original project management on Waterfall provides for progressive elaboration. So for Agile, it's all about progressive elaboration. That's another word for Agile. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic answer. We just continue to add on, and to your point, Dr. Lambert, we get going, and then we see where that takes us, and we add and we build from there, as opposed to waterfall. Of course, waterfall has its time and place. So if you were maybe having heart surgery, you might want that full plan vetted out before the doctor gets in there and is like, let's see what this does. So it certainly has its time and place, but Agile's applicable far and beyond software. Okay, let's see here. Next I have a question coming in. Priscilla, maybe this would be a great one for you. What are the differences between managing an innovation project and managing a standard, maybe project where you're deploying something more known?
Right. So what's the difference if you're a project manager in these fuzzy research environments and if you're working in the more, traditional, well-known environments? I think due to the, unique context of every organization, of every team, of every project member, there's really no one correct way to define, this approach and this role that you need to have as a project manager. At the end of the day, you need to deliver value to your stakeholders. You have to, talk to them, find out what are your requirements. Are we really working towards the same goal? And you try to deliver that value for your stakeholders. Now, innovative, fuzzy research projects have their own challenges in terms of how value delivery teams are organized and how stakeholders are engaged. So yes, this does, make it a bit more complex. So your role as a project manager in these kinds of environments is not about, firefighting or running reports, box checking, note taking. You are going to be asked to leverage new ways of working. You're going to be asked to build relationships with your stakeholders. You'll be asked to be adaptive. You'll be asked, to listen and learn and pivot and change so that you can adapt in this changing environment. So I guess, Justin, that is what I would say. It really calls for you to embrace this learning kind of mindset. And as we've just heard, progressively elaborate as more information comes to light. Come back to the drawing table with your team, with your stakeholders, and make a plan. What are we going to do next? How can we get better? How can we deliver value?
Yeah, fantastic, Priscilla. And a little bit of what Ricardo had stated earlier about, being that flexible where you can bend and not break. You touched on something really interesting, Marcus, and I think maybe this would be, I would love to hear your answer on this one, is when you have these undefined projects, how do you define what the value is for the business?
Yeah, I mean, as Ricardo mentioned earlier, right? Especially in innovation projects, it's not like some project where you just go on and you absolutely have no clue where you're heading to. I mean, you're obviously setting some stages, some milestones, which then provide value at the end, and they need to be measurable. And especially in innovation projects, you can have actually an outcome without even having some deliverable in terms of like a product, right? You can have a learning exercise. You can fail some concept, some proof of concept, for example. You realize it's not working, and that is an outcome. And that's a success of a project because you learned something, right? And then you basically measure that as part of a milestone, right? So you have, just coming back to the earlier question, because it relates, the differences, right, between innovation and ordinary projects, right, is that you have different success measures, right? So in innovation projects, you can fail, but it doesn't or isn't labeled in the end as a failure, because you actually call it a success because you gain insights, you gain something to actually move further, right? And then you define, based on that, you define the next milestone. So it's kind of some rolling planning, basically, right? But that's how you basically develop the value, because the business itself, and I have been in such projects, they don't know what the value ultimately will be. They cannot define it themselves at the beginning, right? They have an idea, and you basically develop an idea, and then you define the first milestone where you say, okay, that idea goes that direction, right? And that's the first success, and then you go on with the next stages.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to kind of help business understand what the value is to measure success. Fantastic. Let's hear. We have another question that came in. Dr. Lambert, I think this would be a great one for you. how to handle the process to get the R&D, the research and development project budget and schedule approved, both based on a rough information from the sponsor, and that will be executed using agile project management that allows and welcomes scope changes. Is it contradictory in the end of the day that the sponsor wants results? So I think the question is, you know, how do we get that initial process going where we're getting the budgets and schedules approved based off of rough information?
Yes, for any project, whether research and innovation or any regular project, to get started, there must be baselines. So it has to be established. If it is not approved, it is not a project. So the difference with research and innovation project or innovation project is that you have what is called initial approval. Bearing in mind the establishment of what we discussed earlier, progressive elaboration. As for approval, you will definitely get. If you don't get the approval, it is not a project. So both schedule, both time, you have to be working on something at a time till when it is verifiably clear that you need a change and you quickly establish the essence and importance and the value of that change. You go for iteration of approval and plan, and you continue. So that's basically the process.
Yeah, fantastic. Sometimes, you know, having to benchmark, you know, other projects to give to the sponsors or the stakeholders who are approving those projects. Let's see here. So let's go with Gonzalo. We have a question here. How do you validate an idea or hypothesis? Do you manage it with a contingency? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, of course, you need to have contingency in this kind of project because, like we said, this fuzzy project, you can kind of define it when you know the outcome, but you don't know the road, or you have a little bit of a scope or an end, but you know more or less the process. So in this kind of project, you need to have options. And I think the skills of the project managers are more important in knowing the process, in knowing what they do. You cannot have a project manager, let's call it a generalistic project manager. You need to know about what you are doing. You need to maybe have some times inside, let's call it production, or like we say before construction. You need to know about what you're doing to be able, in the moment that some hypotheses fall, to be able to get this contingency or being able to figure it out how to round it up and continue with the project. Yes, you need a team that is also knowable, but I think that the best practice in this case is to have a project manager that has some kind of background inside what you are doing.
Yeah,
Could I add on to that, Justin?
Please, yes.
I think this is also a great, point to mention risk management when it comes to innovation and fuzzy projects. So there's a myth among some people that, risk management is traditional ways of thinking, you cannot plan for the unforeseeable. But then the flip point is if you do not talk as a team with your stakeholders, what your known risks are, what the unknown risks are, what the SWOT analysis could be, brainstorm, right? You might be, again, steering off track, saying we're being innovative, we're being fuzzy, but you're not really having the discussions with your stakeholders. So I guess when we talk about contingencies, if you don't know, then you can't plan. But also, if you waste too much time planning, then you're not moving on. It calls for balance. And I think that's where a lot of these projects get a bit challenging. When do you stop brainstorming and then move on despite all the risks that are identified? So yes, great to have your risk logs and issue logs also at hand.
So true. Again, the agile is not without training or without processes. So Priscilla, while you're up here, I've got another question I think would be great to hear from you on. Is a lot of agile frameworks come with the daily stand-ups or daily touch bases. What advice can you give to the person that finds that they've got 10 daily stand-ups a day?
Oh wow, 10 daily stand-ups a day? First thing I would ask is task switching is inefficient at the end of the days, right? So one of the practices on Lean is to do one thing at a time and try to get that done and move on, right? But of course, we know we have a lot of things. We do not work in these ideal environments. So what I try to put in place is a sort of task board, a Kanban board, some way to check in with the team to make sure that we are working on our highest priority items first. So if you're in those meetings, then you can try to zoom in on only the real risk issues. So if you're working with the RAG system, the red, amber, green, the traffic light systems, then you say, okay, we have only 15 minutes together and 10 other meetings are coming up. So let's get to the highest, items first on our list. Maximize the time in those meetings.
Yeah, and for anyone on the call who's training to take their PMP, Priscilla's talking about using your information radiators.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Just a little.
I have maybe a point to add. Sorry.
Yeah, before
Please.
we have that regarding that question. In our experience, we have that. We have, let's say, 70 new projects a year and only 4 teams. So every team is working at the same time at 10 or 12 projects. But we use only one agile loop. So we don't have let's say every meeting for every one project. So we have only one stand-up and we see all the projects in that. So we have one loop for the cell, not one loop for a project. If that.
Yeah, it's longer than 15 minutes, or that proposed time frame.
We tend, our objective is to be 15. In some cases, it's a little bit longer, but I need to say that with the pandemic and doing this stand-up on virtual, we tend to go sometimes as double, because you don't have the conversation during the day with the virtual framework that we have today. So we tend to have, let's say, less than half an hour at the beginning of the day.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Fantastic. Little nugget for everyone to take with them. And then Marcus, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add because I noticed that we talk a lot about agile, which is obviously very valid in this kind of projects. But I think, especially like fuzzy projects or innovation projects, let's talk about innovation projects. We need a lot of experimentation. We need creativity and this kind of things, right? And when you start actually projects saying like we need to go agile, or you actually are saying we need agile or Scrum or whatever, or we need a traditional, or you basically make a choice between those two, you're basically already constraining yourself, right? Because you're saying that needs to be agile, it needs to be this one. And then you follow the process which limits you basically in your creativity and your creative process, basically. So I would say actually there is no formula for agile or whatever methodology in these projects. It depends really, which was I think it was Priscilla who mentioned that. It depends really, and it can be anything, right? As long as it works, right? It can be agile, it can be hybrid. I mean, I used to run a project which I called iterative waterfall at some point. So you can use whatever you want, right? As long as it really suits, right? And I get only the feeling that, you know, when I look at the chat, there's a lot about Scrum and Agile. And that feels like it's like determined. We have to run Agile. We don't have to, right? If something else fits and it's a better choice, then that should be taken, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to utilize what works. I love iterative waterfall. That is such a lovelier phrase than wagile, which I did not come up with. I forever will now use iterative waterfall.
Yeah, like Marcus said, you need to have an agile perspective on your process also. So if what you're doing is not working, then do your retrospective and change it. And you have like a bigger agile above all the projects. If it doesn't work, change it and do whatever you want until it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Agile with your processes. Fantastic. So here is an interesting question. I'll pose it to the. We did lose Dr. Lambert. He had to leave for a flight. But I'll pose it to the rest of the people on the panel here. Is so Robert asks, I understand that in novel projects we need to deal with the knowns and the unknown knowns. But what about the unknown unknowns? What are some good approaches for those? Dealer's choice.
How to deal with an unknown unknown. That is a surprise, Justin. It just catches you out of nowhere. So if we were to look at the PMBOK, it would say deep into your management reserves, right? Hopefully you have some resources in the organization that can help you deal with that risk. What do you think?
That's fantastic. Book it into your contingency or your reserves in the front end of the project. I love that.
You need to train your reaction muscles.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to, in some moment of the history, being proactive was like the best you can be. But in this kind of process, maybe being reactive and being good at reaction is better for these unknown unknowns.
Absolutely. Marcus, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's a very good book out there that I can recommend. It's called Radical Uncertainty. And Unknown Unknown is a radical uncertainty. And the author of that book, they say there's radical uncertainty, which is kind of a mystery. We cannot resolve it. It's just there, right? It's like you cannot really predict or plan for this. It just exists. And it's good that it exists. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have projects. And then there is kind of what is called resolvable uncertainty, which is kind of a puzzle, right? That you can have to solve, right? And nowadays, you obviously bring in these methods like data-driven project management or artificial intelligence to help us resolving those puzzles, right? But they can be resolved. Anything beyond, so that's the unknown unknown. It's kind of the black swan. You cannot resolve it. It's there. It exists, right? You just have to build some contingency or build out your adaptability. Let's put it this way, right? But you cannot really plan for this.
Yeah, the unknowns unknowns. Pretty much always are always going to exist. We have another question in here about using agile in construction. And again, I'll just let panelists add in here. Is there a particular agile life cycle or maybe a framework that would work best for utilizing agile inside construction projects?
I think this goes back to what Marcus just said, right? We shouldn't get into that. Is it called a methodology prison thinking? I think that's one of the terminologies people use. Let's not try to box a project like, okay, use SAFe or use Scrum or use whatever it is. I think let's try to ask ourselves, what are we trying to achieve? And, you know, let's put first our individuals and interactions before all of these processes, frameworks, and methodologies. I think someone put in the chat, communication, communication, communication. So I'll just try to tag back onto that. We don't want to push people towards one kind of framework or one kind of thinking. So yes, context is always the best thing, and then communicate and then choose the right processes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, let's see here, another question coming in here. And it's referring to, again, trying to projects with research and development with a lot of uncertainty and high risks. And, you know, having to get maybe public funding. So if we have those research and development, we're looking for public funding, but we don't have the details to be able to submit for that public funding. Any suggestions on or advice on how you know, these projects can be planned and submitted for funding?
Yeah, I think that what you need for funding is an objective more than a solution and a project that is already, this is what I'm going to do and this is the good that it's going to bring. So you ask for funding regarding the objective you're trying to accomplish. Maybe you don't know the actual solution or I don't know what you are trying to accomplish, but you know there is a solution in that path and you are trying to achieve some kind of objective. You should be able to make a business case with this knowledge and the objective you are looking for. And and obviously you need to have some kind of contingency if that objective is not able to accomplish at full. Yeah, but what you need to have before any project thinking is a clear objective of what you are trying to achieve, and with that look for the investment or the budget.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity to take the iron triangle, scope, schedule, budget, flip it upside down and ask, well, how much money do I have? I'll tell you what I can deliver for that. And take that agile funding approach. Let's see here. Another question we have, which I think we've touched on a little bit, but still a good question here is there a particular structure you recommend that people stick with projects, or do you think it's better to focus on what the team needs and take that approach?
I don't think I get the question.
I think the question is
what do you mean, or what the people want?
Yeah, is there a particular framework or process that you think we should always stick to, or is, when it comes to projects, or is it that we should utilize whatever suits the context of the project?
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Marcus. I was just going to say that, like we told before, nothing should be defined or predefined. Use what you think is good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think the question gives already the answer itself, right? Because as far as I can read, if it's to fit in the structure or to allow a focus on the required outcomes. I mean, that's basically already the answer to the question, right? If you want to focus on the outcomes, then you cannot just fit it into some rigid structure, right? Because if you fit it into a rigid structure, then you're output focused. Then you deliver what has been defined, which may be completely irrelevant when you actually deliver it. So there will be no outcome in the end or no value at the end. So the answer is no, you cannot put that into some rigid structure unless you have really something really 100% defined upfront, which is kind of the concept of a waterfall approach, right? But we're talking here obviously about the fuzzy or innovation projects.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcus. We have another question here. Priscilla, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Gonzalo had answered a question in regards to tools that we utilize. We have another one coming through. And so is there, Priscilla, a particular tool or technology that you like to track plan releases or project milestones?
Is there, from my perspective, my opinion
Yeah,
on
from your
tools? I want to give the trainer answer first, then I give my own opinion. So, you know, when you get together with a team, right? When you're forming a team, you'd have your team chatter, right? We're forming, storming, norming, performing, and then adjourning, right? So the whole point is to get together to decide, how do we work together? How do we collaborate? How do we conflict resolve? How do we make decisions? How do we become transparent? So that is always the starting point. All of you get together to decide the best way of working. So that being said, in the organization that I work at, RICO, it's made on a group level. So as an organization, we use Microsoft solutions. So it's not really up to me. You take the tools that you have and you use it. So that's what we use at work.
Yeah, you go to war with the army that you have, right?
Exactly. But it's the best thing is just remember, define with your team how you want to use those tools, because you might have the most expensive tool out there, something that is custom made for you. But if no one is updating that tool, you cannot make any decisions on the data that is in there. It's garbage in, garbage out. So again, individuals and interactions before processes and tools.
Yes, so true. All right, we've got time for one more question. We have a question coming through is, does it make sense to think or try innovation projects? Especially when there's so many limitations, and even more important, in some places is not even possible to manage basic needs. Is not better to solve essential problems and after that try to innovate? The chicken or the egg question. Marcus, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, the first thing I can think of is if we don't do innovation projects, then we will just stall. We will not progress. We will not go anywhere. And that's why, you know, I actually remember always think about this when people talk about, oh, everything became so complex and so uncertain. Oh my God, right? And everything is becomes so difficult. Well, great that it is, because that means we're actually getting challenged. We're progressing. It's like my son, he's 12 years old. He comes from school. He says, oh, my math exam is also complex, right? What can I do? Well, you learn. And that's what it is, right? We learn, right? And that's what innovation projects are all about, right? We learn and evolve and progress, right? And that also resolves basically or addresses the basic needs, as it mentioned here in the question, right? So to answer the question, yes, we should do innovation projects because with any innovation project, we are actually every project, as I mentioned at the beginning, is for me an innovation project. We learn and progress and we get new insights. Maybe it's not even related to this particular deliverable of that particular project, but we get new learnings out of it, which we can apply elsewhere, and we progress. That's all what it is, right? And then as a wall, we are also resolving the basic needs in the end.
Yeah,
Justine,
absolutely.
I would like to add that let's not think about innovation just as like new product or something that is completely new. We can say that continuous improvement is innovation. So if you try and you solve your essentials problem with this innovation mindset using what tools you have, uh, at least you are gaining that when you solve those essential problems, you have advanced in this learning curve of innovation. So I think it's a win-win. You have to have this innovation mindset and do what you have with what you have, and everything is a win. Yeah, yeah. Try to make or try to solve your problems using this innovation mindset, these innovation tools or methodologies, or at the scope that you need. And if, and when you are with a big innovation problem, you have already traveled a lot and know more, and you have maybe a team that is already being shaped and everything. So I think, yeah, you try and innovate whatever you can in process. It's not always something that is completely new. No, you can have a process that is different, that you use technology to solve, and you can say that you are innovating.
So true, so true. And Marcus, Priscilla, Gonzalo, thank you so much for sharing your amazing wealth of knowledge and expertise. I know I've learned a lot of things today, and I appreciate getting to hear from such great minds in the business. Priscilla,
Hey.
I'm sorry, Priya.
I thought one more question. Thank you to Justin for facilitating the session.
Yeah, thank you,
Also,
Jen.
thank you from my side.
And wonderful insights. I learned a lot about innovation projects. Now I will hand over the stage, the virtual stage, to our chapter leader from Nigeria, Taiwo.
Oh, this has been a very wonderful session, to be honest, that I don't even know where to begin because there are a lot to learn. A lot to learn. And at the end of the day, I see that whether it is innovation, R&D, IT, construction project, what matters is we are the leaders. We are the leaders of this project, whichever area it is. And I would like to build my context from that word leader, Leader. A lot of our panelists here said a lot about learn through your project. So you need to listen. So the L for me, it stands for learning through the project. Listen to the project to understand the context and apply the right context. That is the L. And the E, we want to, the E stands for extent. If you are applying Agile or Waterfall, it's to what extent? Even in Agile, there is planning. So what matters is to what extent. So we can't say, oh, I want to use Agile, I don't need to plan, I just have to accept any change. Everything has to be measured to an extent. What differentiates both of them is the extent. That is E. And for A, we have a lot of changes because it's innovation project, it's R&D, a lot of things come to play, but we should not rule out the fact that approval and acceptability, they are very important. So for me, the A is the approval. And at the end of the day, what are we doing? The D stands for deliver value. We are delivering value to our clients, our stakeholders. So that D stands for deliver value. And the E, that is a word that is synonymous to both Agile and Waterfall. which is elaborate progressively. So I twisted the other way. Progressive elaboration, but now elaborate progressively. You need to understand, and one of our panelists said, learn to evolve. So each of the project, whether it is in waterfall or is in agile, it evolves. So elaborate progressively. And to the last one, which is the R, we should not rule out the fact that risk management is very important. That was an emphasis that was laid by our panelists, that even if it's innovation project or it is R&D, it is construction, procurement, risk management is very important. So to wrap it up again, we are all leaders and our role is to lead the project. And the leader stands for listen to understand the context of your project, to what extent approval is very important, deliver value to the client, and elaborate progressively, then risk management should be planned into the project. Thank you all. It has been a very wonderful session. Thank you all.
Yeah. So thank you, Taiwo. This was wonderfully summarized. Yes, we are all leaders, and L for listen, S for understand the extent, approval, deliver value to your customers, elaborate, right? Is it
Progressively,
elaborate, and risk management.
Risk management.
So let us be all leaders in managing all our fuzzy. I think all projects are fuzzy nowadays, right? It's not only innovation or what do you say, the R&D projects, but I think there is fuzziness in all projects today. So yes, just kindle the leader in you, and for this, with this wonderful tips from our panels today. And as I've already put on the chat window, the PDO mailer will be sent out to you by Monday. And thank you everyone for joining in. We hope to see you again. And before we wrap up, we would like to thank few volunteers who have worked behind the scene to make this event a successful event, like Sunil, who has been working on the WebEx, Shane, who has created, our chapter leader from Phoenix chapter, who has made the flyers. Thanks to Damike for the social media post, and Pedro for the event analysis, which has helped us to put together this awesome event. PDU code already put on the chat window. Mailer will be sent out by Monday. So you can claim your 1.5 PDUs with that code. Heartfelt thank you to all the attendees who have attended this session. And we really thank you for giving your time, attentions today. And with this, we wrap up our season 3, event 9 of Chapter Exchange. We will be back again next month. And this time we will be talking about output to outcome, how project management can make a difference. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.